You know, as much as we hate the mullahs and the Shiites and the Iranian threat, the more I study and the more I'm exposed to what is actually going on in the spiritual, it becomes more and more evident. Yes, they're evil, but they got some pretty good motives for doing what they do, in the same manner that Babylon and Rome had authority to do what they did. Because, first and foremost, nobody can do anything except the God of heaven allows them to. And he is the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the God of Israel. And he made so many promises and covenants with his people, covenants of protection, covenants of provision, and all of them had what you call conditions. If you do what I tell you, you will be blessed. But if you violate my commandments, if you worship other gods, if you do the things that I despise, you will be utterly cursed. And throughout the entire history of Israel, there are so many cases and instances where you can see these prophecies being fulfilled. Because Israel, well, just read the book of Judges. It goes, 6 or 7 times every other chapter. The Israelites did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord handed them over to their adversaries to be pillaged and ravaged. And then, of course, the Assyrian exile for the 10 tribes and the Babylonian exile for the kingdom of Judah. And then he came back, and then, the abomination of desolation under Antioch IV, from the Greek Empire, and then the Romans, and then the destruction of Jerusalem, 70 AD, and then 135 AD, the War of Bar Kokhba, and then the list goes on and on. The persecution of the Jews for the last 2,000 years, all because of our wickedness and lack of obedience to God's Torah. And Iran, as radical as they are, the mullahs, they are Shiite Muslims, which is the most extreme form of Muslims. They take their faith extremely serious, and they are anti-idols. They are extremely serious about their morality. Stephen did a message some time ago about the war for morality. The Muslims don't play around with it. Muslim women better cover their heads, because they know that lust is the very, the first thing. It's like the opening for the devil to destroy a society. And they are extremely serious about what they consider to be morality. Because remember, the Muslims, they do come from the Judeo-Christian roots. The Arabs are descendants of Ishmael, who is also a son of Abraham. So they are much closer to the truth than most Gentile Christians who don't even understand anything about what they read in the Bible. The Muslims are much closer to the truth. Now, surely they are idol worshippers themselves, because Allah is not Elohah, is not God, is not the God of the Israelites, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It's a plagiarizing of God. It's a false God, yes, but with that, they still have some roots in the morality, and they absolutely despise idolatry. And they look at the West and they consider all of you infidels, because they see how you are all prostitutes, sex outside of marriage, abortions, women walking around naked, the worship of money, the worship of alcohol, partying and drugs, and all of these immoral things that are conducted in the West. They call it the moral corruption of the West. And in fact, about 2 months ago, on February 11th, before the war began, you can look it up yourself, they had the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution protest in Iran. They burned statues of Baal. They burnt Baal. And with that, symbols of the Star of David and pictures of President Trump, all aimed at the moral corruption of the West. And, I'm a truth seeker. I'm not for Iran. I'm not for Islam. But I also know that they have a point. I can't argue with that because I know my people. I know how wicked they are. I know that every year in Israel, in a village called Ein Hot, they have a golden calf festival. I know that on October 7th, right outside of Gaza, in that Nova Psytrance festival, they had a statue of one of these pagan deities from India. And the people were all circling and dancing around it. I know they were having orgies and promiscuous sex, homosexuality. I see it everywhere. Every year they have gay parade in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, promoting all of these abominations that the God of heaven absolutely despises. So can I really blame the Muslims for fighting against these infidels that are in my country, the Holy Land of God? No. And I'll tell you another thing. Like I said about October 7, Hamas could not do anything except God allowed it. And everything that happens is because God allows it. And why does He allow it? Because we deserve it. Iran posted a video powered by AI. I'll put it at the end of this message so you can see it, where they portray the Statue of Liberty with a bull for its head as a symbol of the worship of Baal. And I know some of you are gonna get a little touched by it, and it's not so easy to watch, so if you're sensitive, viewer desertion is suggested, however they say it, viewer discretion is advised. But it's the truth. Outside of Wall Street, what do they have? A statue of a bull. In 2022, the Commonwealth Games, led by King Charles of England, what did they have? A golden calf, a bull, and a Tower of Babel reconstructed. So can you blame the Muslims? Can't you see that the Lord Himself is raising up an enemy to whip us, to beat us down, to crush us as He has done so many times because of our wickedness, because of our immorality, because of our sins? The Muslims are the branch that He raises up against us. And the Muslims truly have this figure called the Mahdi. And the Mahdi is their Antichrist. Well, let me put it in better words. It is their Christ, their Mashiach, their Messiah, the Mahdi, which is the Islamic leader that is prophesied to rise. We call him the 12th Imam, the leader that will rule and unite the whole earth in Islam and get rid of all the infidels. This is what they're looking forward to, which is why they're not going to back down. They're not a political nation. They have an extremist religious ideology, and they are absolutely zealous and faithful to what they believe, in contrast to most you Christians that are absolutely godless. But the Muslims take their faith seriously, and they believe the Imam is coming, so they have nothing to lose. They would gladly die and take you with them. They would gladly destroy the entire world and the economy and everything else. They don't care. They got nothing to lose. Everything they do in their mind is bringing the Mahdi closer to his coming. Now in the Bible, what we believe, there is a figure called the Antichrist that is coming before Christ. Before Yeshua comes back to put everything right, there is a false Messiah. And that false Messiah lines up extremely close to the description of the Mahdi in the Quran. Because their Messiah is the false Messiah that the whole world is going to wander after. People are going to forsake their faith. People are going to do all kinds of things to try and save their lives because, well, Muslims don't play around. They'll chop your head off. And you see it already happening. So is it really such a wonder, such a miracle, such a mystery? Or is it so plain and clear to see that this is all coming and happening right in front of your eye and you can't see it? It is the Lord who is causing all of this to happen as a judgment against His people who are faithless and godless. And yes, we are Baal. Israel is Baal. With their Star of David that comes out of the magical occult. Just look it up. The Star of David origin in Kabbalah. Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism from the 13th and 14th century, which really stems from the seal of Solomon that he used to control spirits and demons and animals. That all goes back to pagan mysticism and Eastern religions. Remember, Solomon married 700 wives from pagan nations and brought all of this idolatry into Israel. Just because it's Jewish doesn't mean it's holy, and it's most definitely not from God, the Jews were never righteous. Not once in their history did they actually obey everything written in the Torah. Sure, there were a few people here and there, like Joshua and David and Samuel and few others, but as a nation, everybody, never. They killed the prophets. They chased the prophets, and when the Mashiach himself came, they crucified him. Now, does that mean that I'm anti-Jewish? Absolutely not. I am Jewish myself. But just like every ethnic group, you got the righteous ones and you got the wicked ones. You got the wheat and you got the tares. And the Lord promised a collective judgment because of the wickedness of his people. Now, I do believe that the day is coming when everybody alive will repent and come to know the Lord, as was prophesied, so that all Israel will be saved. Once all of our man-made defenses fail and we have nothing to trust in except God, then they will humble themselves and call on the name of Adonai. But until that time, they're going to turn to their allies, they're going to turn to their Iron Dome, they're going to turn to their arrow, they're going to turn to their money, to their oil, to their nuclear bunkers, anything but God, which is why everything has to fail. And here's the million-dollar question. How does everything fail? Well, guess what? You have to be attacked. In order for your defenses to fail, you have to be attacked. And the defenses have to be destroyed, which means there has to be damage, there has to be a threat. And that threat is already here, and it is coming from the Muslim empire, led by Iran. Now, is this the final war? Maybe. I don't know. But everything that happens, whether it is the real deal or whether it is a foreshadow of the real deal, it is all pointing to the ultimate destruction and then restoration. Just like history always revealed to us. First comes the judgment, there comes the restoration and reconciliation. That's what the Lord has always done, and that's what he's still doing, because the Lord said he changes not. He's going to whip you, and then he's going to bandage you. That's what he does. He said, I wound and I will heal. I put to death and I bring alive. So don't be surprised at everything that is happening in the world and the rise of Islam. Oh yes, we're going to destroy your Western society today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. It doesn't really matter, because you're godless. Your society is not going to sustain. It's not eternal. So whether today or tomorrow, it doesn't really make any difference. The US is going to fall, and so will the rest of the entire Western world. And after all of that has said and done, and the Muslims are on the rise, that is when the Lord will come and break the branch that he used to whip his children. See, the Muslims will get their judgment. Don't worry about that. They're going to get what they deserve. But not until the Lord is done using them to give us what we deserve. Just like he did all throughout history. Read the book of Habakkuk. He used the Babylonians and then he whipped the Babylonians. He used the Persians and then he whipped the Persians. He used the Greeks and then he broke the Greeks. The Romans and then he punished the Romans. It's the same thing he has done all throughout history. So be of good courage. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. Submit unto him. Let him be your God. Let him be your Lord. Do what he says. And he will direct your path. He will put you on the right path. He will keep your path straight, so that you do not stray and follow the godlessness of this world and suffer the plagues. As it says in the book of Revelation, flee from Babylon. Do not partake of her sins, or you will also partake of her plagues. The Muslims are going to rise. They already are. Just look around you. Europe is gone. The US is falling. You already got a Muslim mayor in New York, the capital city of the US economy. You got already the Muslims taking over Minnesota and Michigan, I think it is. One of the two. Dearborn, Michigan. The Muslims are taking over. It's unavoidable. And it's inevitable. Because it is your judgment. For all of the liberalism, all of your immorality, all of your Baal worship. But be of good courage, because if you humble yourself, if you truly surrender your life over to God, to Yeshua the Mashiach, to do His will, to chase His righteousness, to forsake all of your paganism and all of your idolatry and all of your love of the flesh and the ways of this world, you will be saved. But you have to make a choice and back it up with action to show sincerity. And the Lord requires everything. He said all your heart, all your mind, all your being, everything. He wants everything. He wants your undying devotion. Just like the Muslims are undying devotion to Allah. How come is it that the people who worship the false God show more devotion than the people who allegedly worship the real God? Doesn't make sense. And that is why the Muslims are rising. And that is why your judgment is coming.